The stars burned bright in the darkness of space. Among them, 3 beautiful worlds circled their sun in the Ithaca system. The Pelleran people had lived there for thousands of years. Their cities shone like crystals across the surface of their planets. They were peaceful beings who loved art, science, and learning. But peace does not last forever. It began as a shadow at the edge of their system. A dark cloud that moved with purpose, consuming everything in its path. The Pellerans called it the Void Swarm, a living darkness that fed on light, matter, and even thoughts. "It's approaching the outer colonies," said Elder Valansiri, his crystal-like features reflecting the glow of the emergency screens. The great meeting hall of the First World was filled with frightened Pellerans, their normally bright bodies dimmed with fear. "How long do we have?" asked Second Elder Mila. "At its current speed, 3 planetary cycles before it reaches the First World," one of the scientists replied. His voice trembled. "The outer research stations have already gone silent." The Pellerans were not warriors. In their long history, they had focused on creation, not destruction. Their weapons were few and designed only to push away space rocks that might threaten their planets. Nothing that could fight the hungry darkness coming toward them. "We must call for help," Valansiri decided. "There are other civilizations in the galaxy older and more powerful than our own. They must know how to fight this thing." The Pellerans built a special message and sent it into space. The message traveled faster than light, carrying their cry for help in thousands of languages. They sent pictures, numbers, and distress signals that any intelligent being would understand. The message was simple. "We are dying. The darkness comes. Please help us." Their call reached far across the stars to the ancient and powerful races. The Vex Confederation received it first. Their great living ships, each the size of a moon, picked up the Pelleran signal. "Another younger race faces the Void Swarm," said High Commander Vexthar, their multiple eyes blinking in sequence. The Vex were over 10 million years old as a civilization. They had seen many races rise and fall. They had fought the Void Swarm before and knew its terrible power. "What are our odds of successful intervention?" they asked their prediction computers. The answer came quickly. 6.7% chance of success, 93.3% chance of failure, and spread of Void Swarm to other systems. The Vex made their choice. "We will strengthen our borders. The Ithaca system must be lost to save the rest of the galaxy." The same message reached the Cenari Conclave, beings of pure energy who had not had physical bodies for millions of years. They too calculated the risk and chose to watch from afar. The Kulathi Imperium, with their 1,000-year lifespans and perfect memory, remembered the last time the Void Swarm had awakened. How many worlds had been lost before it went back to sleep? They would not risk waking it further. They too turned away from the Pelleran's cry. All across the galaxy, the elder races heard the call. All understood. All refused to help. But the message kept traveling through space. It reached smaller, younger civilizations. Most didn't understand it. Some did, but lacked the ability to help. The message grew weaker as it traveled, but still it moved outward, until it reached Earth. Humans had only recently learned to travel between stars. Their ships were small and few. Their weapons were simple compared to the elder races, but their deep space listening posts caught the faint echo of the Pelleran distress call. Captain Eliana Chen was doing her daily check of the systems when the message came through. At first it looked like random noise, but something about the pattern caught her attention. "Run it through all translation programs," she ordered, "and get me Dr. Patel from linguistics." For 3 days they worked on the message. When they finally understood it, Captain Chen called an emergency meeting on the bridge of her ship, the EFS Defiance. "This is what we've learned," she told her officers. "There's a civilization called the Pellerans in the Ithaca system. They're under attack by something called the Void Swarm that destroys everything it touches. They've asked for help from anyone who can hear them." Lieutenant Mike Rodriguez frowned. "The Ithaca system? That's at least 2 weeks away at our best speed. And we're just one ship." "Actually," said Communications Officer Tara Williams, "we've picked up other signals too. The elder races received the same message. They're refusing to help. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. Everyone was thinking the same thing. If the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy wouldn't help, what chance did humans have? Captain, Chen looked at the star map where the Ithaka system glowed red. Did any of you join the Earth Expeditionary Force because you thought it would be safe? No one answered. I joined because there are people out there who need help. Chen continued. We might be new to the stars, but we know something the elder races seem to have forgotten. You don't abandon people who call for help. She stood straighter, her decision made. Contact Earth Command. Tell them we're responding to a distress call. Then plot a course for the Ithaca system. And if Command says no? Asked Rodriguez. Chen's eyes hardened. Then I'll remind them of our mission statement. To explore, connect, and when necessary, defend. The Pelorans need defenders. I don't intend to let them die while we debate. As the Defiance prepared for departure, news spread throughout Earth's small fleet. 2 more ships volunteered to join the mission, the supply vessel Horizon and the science ship Galileo. 3 human ships against a force that devoured worlds. The odds were impossible. But something in the Peloran message had touched the humans, deeply. The fear, the hope, the belief that someone out there would be kind enough to help. Earth Command gave their approval 12 hours later. Not because they thought the mission would succeed, but because they recognized the message for what it was, a test of humanity's character. As the 3 ships jumped into faster-than-light travel, Captain Chen recorded her log. We are responding to a distress call from the Peloran civilization. The threat they face may be beyond our understanding, but we go anyway because that's what humans do. When someone cries out in the darkness, we answer. The small human fleet raced toward the Ithaca system, while behind them, the elder races watched in confusion. Why would these primitive humans risk everything for strangers? What calculations could possibly justify such an action? They wouldn't understand until it was all over. The human ships came out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Ithaca system. What they saw made them stop and stare. The first of the 3 Peloran planets was already half covered in darkness. It looked like someone had spilled black ink across its surface. Where the darkness touched, nothing lived. My God, whispered Lieutenant Rodriguez, looking at the screens. We're too late for that world. Captain Chen gripped the arms of her chair. Her face was tight with worry, but her voice stayed calm. What about the other planets? Are there still people alive? Officer Tara Williams worked quickly at her station. Strong life signs on the 3rd planet, Captain. It seems they've moved most of their people there, but that black cloud, the void swarm, it's moving between the planets now. How long do they have? Chen asked. Williams looked up, her face pale. At this rate, maybe 7 days before it reaches the 3rd planet. Dr. Amit Patel, the ship's science officer, was studying the readings with wide eyes. Captain, this isn't like any life form we've ever encountered. It's not just eating matter, it seems to be consuming energy itself. Even light doesn't escape it. Chen nodded. Can our weapons hurt it? Unknown, Patel admitted. But I doubt it. Our most powerful weapons are energy-based. If this thing eats energy, no one needed to finish that thought. They had come to help, but what could they really do against something that consumed worlds? Captain, called Communications Officer Williams. We're receiving a transmission from the 3rd planet. Chen straightened her uniform. Put it on screen. The main screen lit up with the image of a being unlike any human had seen before. It looked like it was made of living crystal. Light moved through its body in waves of color. Its features were angular, but had a strange beauty to them. I am Valon, Siri, High Counselor of the Peloran people, the being said. Its voice had been translated into English, but still had a musical quality. You came? You actually came? Chen stepped forward. I'm Captain Eliana Chen of the Earth Expeditionary Force. We received your distress call and came to help. The crystal being's colors flashed rapidly, an emotional response. But the elders refused. The great civilization said the risk was too high. We're not them, Chen said simply. Where we come from, we don't abandon people who need help. But You do not know us, Valon Siri said. You've never even seen our kind before today. Chen's face softened slightly. That doesn't matter. You were in trouble. You asked for help. That's enough reason for us. The Pelleran leader was silent for a moment, color waves moving slowly through its form. We have been a peaceful people for thousands of years. We don't know how to fight this enemy. Can your weapons destroy the Void Swarm? Chen looked at Dr. Patel, who shook his head slightly. She turned back to the screen. We don't know yet, but we're going to try everything. First we need to learn more about what we're fighting, and we need to meet with your leaders. Yes, of course, we will send landing coordinates for your ships. Chen nodded. We'll be sending down shuttles. Our main ships will stay in orbit to watch the swarm's movements. When the transmission ended, Chen turned to her officers. I need volunteers for the surface team, scientists, engineers, and security personnel. Everyone will volunteer, Lieutenant Rodriguez said. You know that. Chen smiled slightly. I do know that. It's why I'm proud to serve with humans. 6 hours later, 3 shuttles descended to the surface of the third Pelleran planet. As they flew through the atmosphere, the human teams got their first good look at the Pelleran civilization. Their cities were built from the same crystal-like material as their bodies. Tall towers caught the sunlight and broke it into rainbows. Under different circumstances, the humans would have been amazed by the beauty. But now those crystal cities were filled with frightened refugees from the other planets. The streets were crowded with Pellerans carrying whatever they had been able to save from their homes. The shuttles landed in a large open area near the biggest building, the Central Council Hall. A group of Pellerans was waiting for them, Valon Siri at the front. Captain Chen was the first human to step onto the Pelleran world. She walked forward and held out her hand in greeting, the way humans had done for thousands of years. Valon Siri looked at her hand in confusion. Chen smiled and explained, It's how my people greet new friends. We shake hands to show we come in peace. The Pelleran leader carefully extended his crystalline hand. When they touched, a small spark jumped between them. Not electricity, but something else. Both leaders felt it. Your people are full of energy, Valon Siri said. I can sense it. Chen nodded. We're here to share that energy with you, to help in any way we can. Inside the council hall, the humans presented their plan. Dr. Patel and his science team would study the Void Swarm to find weaknesses. The engineers would help strengthen the planet's defenses. And the security teams, soldiers, though the humans didn't use that word in front of the peaceful Pellerans, would prepare for the worst. We don't have much time, Chen told the Pelleran Council. We need to work fast. Whatever resources we have are yours, Valon Siri promised. But I must ask, why? Why risk your lives for strangers? The elder races ran complex calculations and determined helping us wasn't worth the risk. Lieutenant Rodriguez spoke up. With respect, sir, where we come from, you don't run calculations to decide if someone deserves to live. Chen added, Humans have a saying, the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. We couldn't do nothing. That night, as the human teams set up their equipment, the Pellerans watched them with wonder. These strange beings had traveled across the stars to help people they had never met. They worked with urgency but without panic. They joked with each other even as they prepared for battle. From the window of his chambers, Valon Siri watched the humans. For the first time since the Void Swarm appeared, he felt something new growing inside him. It was hope. In orbit above the planet, the crew of the Defiance observed the Void Swarm's progress through the system. It had completely consumed the first planet now and was halfway to the second. Will 7 days be enough? Officer Williams asked quietly. No one answered. They all knew the truth. Probably not. But they would use every minute they had, because that's what humans do when lives are at stake. They fight until the very end. 2 weeks had passed since the humans arrived. The Void Swarm had completely eaten the first planet and was now halfway through the second. On the third planet, humans and Pellerans worked together day and night. In a large room of the Pelleran, Science building, Dr. Samira Kapoor stood before a group of Peloran and human leaders. The human scientist had dark circles under her eyes from lack of sleep, but her voice was strong as she pointed to the images on the wall screen. The void swarm isn't just eating matter, she explained. It's consuming information, thoughts, memories, knowledge. It grows stronger with each mind it absorbs. Captain Chen leaned forward in her chair. Are you saying it's intelligent? In a way, Dr. Kapoor nodded. But not like us. It's more like a very hungry animal that learns from what it eats. Valon Siri's crystal body flashed with concern. Then with each Peloran it consumes, it learns more about us, about how we think. Exactly, Dr. Kapoor said. But here's what's interesting. We've found something it struggles to process. She pressed a button, and new images appeared on the screen. When we feed it data based on human emotions and decision-making, it slows down, almost like it's getting indigestion. Lieutenant Rodriguez frowned. Why would our emotions confuse it? Dr. Kapoor smiled slightly. Because humans are complicated. You make decisions based on feelings as much as logic. You do things that don't make mathematical sense. The swarm evolved eating the minds of very logical species like the Pelorans. Human consciousness is messy by comparison. Is that an insult or a compliment, Doctor? Rodriguez asked with a small smile. It might be our greatest weapon, Dr. Kapoor replied seriously. Over the next few days, the scientists developed a plan. The Pelorans had technology that could take thoughts and memories from a person's mind and convert them into data signals. They had used it for centuries to preserve the knowledge of their greatest thinkers. Now they would use it to create a defensive shield around their last planet. Human volunteers would connect to the Peloran machines and allow their thought patterns to be copied into the defense system. The mixture of human emotional thinking and Peloran logic would confuse the void swarm, slowing its advance. But there was a cost. I need all volunteers to understand, Valon Siri explained to the gathered humans. This process will take parts of your memories permanently. The transfer isn't perfect. You will lose pieces of yourselves that can never be recovered. The room was silent as the humans looked at each other. This wasn't just asking them to risk their lives. It was asking them to give up pieces of who they were. What kinds of memories would we lose? Asked a young engineer named Sophia Lee. It varies, one of the Peloran scientists said. Some might lose childhood memories. Others might forget technical knowledge or people they once knew. Lieutenant Maya Okafor stood up from her seat. She was a tall woman with short hair and serious eyes. My grandfather survived when our city was flooded. He lost everything. His home, his possessions. But he always said, what makes us human isn't what we keep. It's what we're willing to give away to help others. She looked around at her fellow humans. I volunteer. By morning, more than 200 humans had joined her. The transfer process took place in a large circular room filled with crystal pods. Each human lay in a pod while Peloran technicians worked the controls. As the machines activated, streams of light flowed from the humans' heads into the central system. Captain Chen watched from an observation area, her heart heavy. Her people were making a sacrifice that the advanced elder races had refused to make. She saw Lieutenant Rodriguez emerge from his pod looking dazed. When he saw her, he frowned in confusion. Do I know you? He asked. Chen felt her throat tighten. I'm your captain, Mike. Eliana Chen. He nodded slowly, but his eyes remained uncertain. I know I'm supposed to be here helping, but I can't remember how I got here, or where here is. Before Chen could respond, she noticed Rodriguez looking at a small photo he kept in his pocket. It showed him with a woman and a young child. This is my family, he said, but I can't remember my son's name. Chen placed a hand on his shoulder, unable to find words. What do you say to someone who has given part of themselves to save strangers? The modified defense system was activated the next day. A shield of energy surrounded the planet, pulsing with the combined thought patterns of humans and Pelorans. When the void swarm reached the second planet's moon, the humans got there first. good look at how it fed. The darkness moved like a living thing, sending out tendrils that wrapped around objects. Where it touched, matter simply disappeared, leaving nothing behind. But when parts of the swarm approached the third planet and encountered the shield, something new happened. The tendrils pulled back, as if burned. The main body of the swarm slowed its advance. "It's working," Officer Williams reported from the Defiance in orbit. "The swarm is hesitating." The celebration was short-lived. Within hours, the swarm began testing different approaches. It would retreat, then attack from another angle. It was learning, adapting. "It's trying to understand the shield," Dr. Kapoor explained. "Our advantage won't last forever." But every hour they delayed the swarm was another hour for the Pelorans to strengthen their defenses and evacuate more people to the safer regions of the planet. The human volunteers continued to give their memories to the shield, rotating in shifts to keep the defense fresh and unpredictable. Captain Chen visited the hospital wing where many of the human volunteers rested. Some stared at walls, trying to piece together who they were. Others looked at pictures of loved ones, struggling to remember names and faces that should have been familiar. In one bed, Engineer Lee sat holding a small metal tool, turning it over and over in her hands. "I know this is important," she said when Chen approached. "I know I used it to build things, but I can't remember how it works anymore." Chen sat beside her. "You helped build the power relays for the shield. You saved thousands of lives today," Lee nodded, but her eyes remained on the tool. "That's good. I think that's why I came here, but..." She looked up at Chen with tears in her eyes. "Who am I, Captain? I remember that you're my captain, but I don't remember my own story." From the doorway, Valon Siri watched, his crystal form dimmed with sadness. "Your people are paying too, high a price for us," he said when Chen joined him later. "That's not for you to decide," Chen replied gently. "It's their choice." "But why? Why would they give parts of themselves for strangers?" Chen looked back at the room full of humans who had sacrificed their memories. "Because that's what makes us human." The modified defensive shield held back the void swarm longer than anyone expected. 14 days of precious time. The humans and Pelorans used this time well. Millions of Pelorans were moved to the safest parts of their last remaining planet. The engineers strengthened buildings and created emergency bunkers. Everyone worked together with a shared purpose. But the void swarm was adapting. Day by day, it learned to process the human thought patterns that had initially confused it. The shield was growing weaker. Captain Chen was in the command center with Valon Siri when Officer Williams called from the Defiance in orbit. "Captain, we're detecting 3 massive ships entering the system," Williams reported, her voice tight with excitement. "They're much larger than anything we've ever seen." Valon Siri's crystal body lit up with bright colors of hope. "The elder races. They've come to help after all." Chen wasn't so sure. "Open a channel to the incoming ships," she ordered. The main screen lit up to show a strange being. It had multiple eyes that moved independently and skin that seemed to shift. Colors. This was a Kulati, one of the oldest species in the galaxy. They had been traveling between stars when humans were still living in caves. "This is Captain Eliana Chen of Earth. We are assisting the Peloran people against the Void Swarm. Are you here to help?" The Kulati's eyes all focused on her at once. Its voice was translated into English, but sounded cold and flat. "Human vessel, you will withdraw immediately. The containment protocol has been compromised by your interference." Chen frowned. "Containment protocol? We're trying to save these people, not contain them. The Void Swarm's evolution has been accelerated by contact with human consciousness," the Kulati stated. "Our calculations now show a 67% probability that it will break quarantine and spread to other systems." The truth hit Chen like a physical blow. "You're not here to help. You're here to make sure the swarm stays in this system, even if it means everyone here dies." "The mathematics is clear," the Kulati replied. "The Ithaca system must be sterilized, completely to prevent a galaxy-wide outbreak." Valon Siri stepped forward, his crystal form pulsing with anger and fear. "You would destroy our entire civilization? Billions of Pelorans?" And the humans who have interfered, the Kulathi added calmly. It is regrettable but necessary. When the transmission ended, the command center erupted in panic. Peleran officials shouted over each other, their crystal bodies flashing with bright colors of fear. Chen watched them for a moment, then whistled sharply to get everyone's attention. "We don't have time for panic," she said firmly. "Those elder ships are going to try to destroy this entire system. We need to move now." "What can we possibly do against their technology?" one of the Peleran officials asked. "Their ships are ancient and powerful." Chen turned to Valon Siri. "Do your people have any ships capable of leaving this system? Anything that could carry large numbers of your people?" The Peloran leader thought for a moment. "We have the old Ark ships in the orbital museums. They brought our ancestors to this system thousands of years ago, but they haven't been used in centuries and they're very slow. Can they be made to work again?" "Perhaps with time." Chen nodded. "Then that's our plan. We get as many of your people as possible onto those Ark ships. The human vessels will defend them while they escape." "Against Elder race technology?" Valon Siri's colors dimmed. "You don't stand a chance." "Maybe not," Chen agreed. "But we didn't come all this way to watch a genocide happen." Over the next hours, the Pelerans rushed to prepare their ancient Ark ships. These massive vessels had been preserved as museums, reminders of their people's history. Now they would be their only hope for a future. Meanwhile, the three human ships, the Defiance, the Horizon, and the Galileo, moved into defensive positions. Their weapons were primitive compared to the elder vessels, but they would use everything they had. "All personnel, this is Captain Chen," she announced over the communication system. "The elder races have decided the Peleran people aren't worth saving. They plan to destroy this entire system to contain the Void Swarm. This isn't what we came for, but it's where we stand." She paused, looking at the faces of her crew on the bridge. They were scared but determined. "The Pelerans need 6 more hours to complete loading their Ark ships. We're going to give them that time. This is not a fight we expected, but it's one we will not back down from. Earth Expeditionary Force does not abandon those who ask for help." The elder ships entered weapon range and immediately opened fire. Beams of energy unlike anything humans had seen before sliced through space toward the planet. The Defiance moved to intercept, its shields glowing as they absorbed the first hit. "Shields at 47%, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, his hands moving quickly across the controls despite his fragmented memories. "One more direct hit like that and we're done." "Evasive maneuvers," Chen ordered, "and return fire with everything we've got." The human ships danced through space, small and agile compared to the massive elder vessels. Their weapons seemed tiny against the ancient ships, but they fired continuously, seeking any weakness. On the planet's surface, Pelerans rushed toward the spaceports where the Ark ships waited. Families carried what little they could, children clutched precious toys. Elders were helped along by younger Pelorans. The immense sadness of leaving their home, mixed with the terror of the Void Swarm, and now the elder race's betrayal. Valon Siri stood in the control room of the largest Ark ship, watching the space battle on the viewscreens. The human vessels were taking terrible damage but kept fighting, giving his people precious time to escape. "Why?" he whispered to himself. "Why would they sacrifice themselves for us when their own kind will not?" One of the human engineers working nearby overheard him. "Because that's what humans do," she said simply. "We don't measure the value of life with calculations." In space, the Defiance took another hit. Fires erupted on 3 decks and emergency teams rushed to contain them. The ship's weapons were almost depleted, but still it fought on. "Captain," Officer Williams called out, "the first Peleran Ark ship is launching." Chen nodded, watching, as the enormous ancient vessel slowly rose from the planet's surface. It was beautiful in its way, covered in crystal patterns that caught the light of the system's sun. "Keep those elder ships busy," she ordered. "That Ark is a sitting target until it clears the atmosphere." As the battle continued, more Ark ships began to rise from the planet. The human vessels took positions around them, creating a defensive screen with their own bodies. It was a hopeless fight. The Elder technology was too advanced, their weapons too powerful. But sometimes the most important battles are the ones you fight even when you know you can't win. As the Defiance shuddered under another hit, Chen gripped her captain's chair and watched the Pelleran arcs moving slowly away from their dying world. Whatever happened next, some of the Pellerans would survive. That was enough. All ships, she commanded. Protect those arcs at all costs. The battle in space was not going well for the human ships. The Elder vessels released weapons that could tear through reality itself. Beams of light that bent space and strange missiles that seemed to appear and disappear. The human ships dodged as best they could, but their shields were failing. Shields at 18%, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported on the bridge of the Defiance. His forehead was bleeding from where he had hit it during a violent ship maneuver. Engineering says the power core is starting to overheat. We can't take another direct hit. Captain Chen nodded, watching as the Pelleran arc ship slowly moved away from the planet. They were ancient vessels, beautiful but slow. Too slow. How many arcs have launched, she asked. 7 so far, Officer Williams replied. 3 more are still loading. That's about 60% of the remaining Pelleran population. Chen made a quick decision. Direct all power to the forward shields. We're going to position ourselves between the Elder ships and those arcs. Captain, Rodriguez said quietly. That's suicide. Chen met his eyes. We came here to protect these people. That's what we're going to do. Down in the engine room of the Defiance, Chief Engineer Aiko Takahashi was working frantically. Her hands moved quickly over the ship's systems, rerouting power and trying to keep the damaged vessel functioning. Around her, the engine room was filled with smoke and the sounds of emergency alarms. One of her team ran up to her. Chief, we've got a new problem, the consciousness transfer technology. We used for the defense shield, it's destabilizing our power core. Takahashi frowned, thinking quickly. The Pelleran technology that had copied human thought patterns was still connected to their systems. It had been part of the shield that was now failing against the void swarm. Suddenly, she had an idea. Get me Captain Chen, she said, rushing to a communication panel. When Chen's face appeared on the screen, Takahashi explained her plan. The Elder races use neural networks to control their ships, systems that think like brains. What if we use the consciousness transfer technology as a weapon? We could broadcast human thought patterns directly into their ship's systems. What would that do? Chen asked. Their systems are designed for perfect logic like the Pellerans, Takahashi explained. Human emotion and unpredictable thinking might confuse them, maybe even temporarily shut them down. Like a mental virus, Chen said, understanding. Exactly. But someone would need to manually deliver the device to the Elder command ship. A shuttle would have to get past their defenses. Chen knew immediately this was a suicide mission. The shuttle would never return. She also knew she couldn't ask anyone else to go. How long will it take to build this device, she asked. 20 minutes, Takahashi replied. I can modify the consciousness transfer equipment we already have. Do it. Before Chen could say more, a new transmission came through. It was from Falon Siri, now aboard the lead Pelleran arc ship. Captain Chen, the Pelleran leader said, his crystal form glowing with determination. We've been monitoring your communications. The plan your engineer suggests might work, but your shuttlecraft are too slow and too easily detected. What are you suggesting? Chen asked. We have small crystal ships, ceremonial vessels used for important events. They're fast and difficult for sensors to detect because of their crystalline structure. Our pilots can deliver your device. Your pilots aren't fighters, Chen protested. This is a combat mission against advanced weapons. Falon Siri's colors shifted to a deep, steady blue. Captain, watching your people, watching humans choose to fight for strangers, has taught us something important. For too long we've been peaceful. We forgot how to stand up for ourselves. Before Chen could respond, the transmission shifted to show a large hangar inside the arc ship. Hundreds of Pellerans were climbing into small, crystal-like vessels. Many wore what appeared to be ancient battle armor, designs that hadn't been used in thousands of years. "These are volunteers," Valon Siri explained. "They wish to fight alongside you." Chen was speechless for a moment. Then she nodded. "We'll transfer the device once it's ready." 20 minutes later, from the arcs emerged a swarm of small Pelleran ships. They looked like flying diamonds, reflecting the light of the nearby sun. There were hundreds of them, moving in complex patterns that confused the Elder ship's targeting systems. From the bridge of the Defiance, Chen watched in amazement as the Pelleran vessels danced through space, evading the Elder weapons. They moved, with a grace that human ships couldn't match, flowing like water around energy beams. "The Elder ships are diverting their fire from us to track the Pelleran swarm," Rodriguez reported. "Then let's not waste this chance," Chen ordered. "Bring all weapons to full power. Target the Elder ship's propulsion systems." The human vessels, given a moment to breathe, unleashed everything they had against the Elder ships. Their weapons might have seemed primitive, but they were fired with precision and determination. At the center of the Pelleran swarm flew Valon Siri himself, leading his people into battle for the first time in generations. His small ship carried Takahashi's modified device, the mental EMP as the humans called it. It would need to touch the hull of the Elder command ship to work. All around him, Pelleran ships were being destroyed. Each loss was a bright flash of light as the crystal vessels shattered. But still they pressed forward, inspired by the humans who had come across the stars to help them. "We are approaching the command ship," Valon Siri reported. "Prepare to activate the device." On the Defiance, Chen held her breath as she watched the swarm converge on the massive Elder vessel. The Kulathi ship was firing in all directions now, trying to stop the approaching Pellerans. Many of the small ships were destroyed, but there were too many to stop them all. Valon Siri's ship reached the hull of the command ship first. He activated the device just as his vessel made contact. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, across the Elder fleet, systems began to flicker and fail. Their neural networks, suddenly flooded with human emotional data, couldn't process the contradictions and illogical jumps. For 30 crucial seconds, their weapons went dark. It was all the opening the humans needed. "Fire everything we have," Chen ordered. The 3 human ships unleashed their remaining weapons at the now vulnerable Elder vessels. The Defiance targeted the command ship's engines, while the Horizon and Galileo focused on the weapon systems of the other 2 ships. The Elder vessels, briefly paralyzed by the mental EMP, took critical damage before they could recover. The command ship's main engines exploded in a burst of blue-white light, sending it spinning out of control. On the bridge of the Defiance, a cheer went up from the crew, but Chen remained focused, watching for Pelleran survivors. "Any sign of Valon Siri's ship?" she asked quietly. Officer Williams scanned the area where the Pelleran ships had crashed against the command ship's hull. "There's a lot of debris, Captain. I'm picking up some life signs among it, but they're very weak." Chen nodded, feeling the weight of what had just happened. The Pellerans, a peaceful people for thousands of years, had found their courage by watching humans. They had fought not just for themselves but for the strange beings who had come to help them. "Send rescue shuttles," she ordered. "Find any survivors." As the Elder ships retreated, their perfect confidence shattered. The human vessels moved among the debris searching for survivors. The Void Swarm continued its advance through the Ithaka system, but the Pelleran arcs were now safely away, carrying the future of their civilization into the stars. The Pellerans had lost their home, but they had found something perhaps more valuable: the courage to fight for themselves, inspired by the humans who had chosen to stand beside them when no one else would. The Void Swarm continued its slow advance through the Ithaka system, consuming everything in its path. But it no longer mattered as much. The Elder fleet had retreated, their ships damaged, and their perfect confidence shattered. More importantly, the Pelleran arc ships were now safely away from the immediate danger, carrying millions of survivors. The human rescue shuttles moved carefully through the debris field where the Pelleran crystal ships had crashed against the Elder command vessel. It was a difficult search, The shattered remains of the crystal ships looked like stars themselves, glittering in the darkness of space. "I've found one," called a shuttle pilot over the communication system. "There's a life sign, very weak but still there." When the rescue team brought the survivor aboard the Defiance, Captain Chen was waiting in the medical bay. Her heart lifted when she saw who it was, Valon Siri himself, his crystal form badly fractured but still intact. The Pelleran leader was placed in a special healing pod designed by the human and Pelleran medical teams working together. "Will he survive?" Chen asked Dr. Patel. "I believe so," the doctor replied. "Pellerans are surprisingly resilient. Their crystalline bodies can repair themselves if given enough time and energy." Chen nodded, relief washing over her. Of the hundreds of Pellerans who had volunteered for the attack on the Elder ships, only 27 had survived. But because of their sacrifice, millions more would live. Over the next few days, the human ships and the Pelleran arcs traveled together away from the Ithaca system. The great question now was, where would the Pellerans go? They had lost their home and they needed a new planet to settle on. "The Elder races have closed their borders to us," said one of the Pelleran council members during a meeting on the lead arc ship. "They see us as contaminated by the Void Swarm. No existing civilization will welcome refugees who might bring such danger with them." In the medical bay, Captain Chen sat beside Valon Siri's recovery pod. The Pelleran leader was awake, now his fractures slowly healing. "Your people have no home," Chen said softly. "But Earth has room." Siri's eyes caught the light. The Elder races would see it as contamination. They would turn against humanity as they turned against us. "Let them try." Chen's voice was firm. "We've faced extinction before. Climate disasters, asteroid impacts, plagues. Humanity survives because we stand together. And now, we'll stand with the Pellerans." The journey to Earth would take months. During that time, the combined scientific knowledge of humans and Pellerans made important discoveries about the Void Swarm. By studying the data they had collected, they realized something surprising. The swarm wasn't just mindlessly destroying. It was hungry, and perhaps something like afraid. It consumed consciousness because it was trying to understand. "It's almost like a child," Dr. Kapoor explained during a briefing. "A dangerous, powerful child that doesn't understand its own strength or the harm it causes." This new understanding didn't solve the problem, but it opened the possibility that someday they might find a way to communicate with the swarm rather than just fight it. As the fleet approached the halfway point to Earth, something unexpected happened. They began receiving transmissions from other civilizations throughout the galaxy, not the Elder races but smaller, younger species. These civilizations had also received the Pelleran's original distress call. They too had calculated the odds and stayed away. But something had changed. Seeing humans, barely spacefaring, technologically primitive, stand against both the swarm and the Elder races had shifted something in their understanding of what was possible. "We watched," said one transmission from a species called the Zinthi. "We were afraid as the Elders were afraid. But you humans showed us that there is something more important than fear. We would like to help now, if you will accept us." Similar messages came from dozens of species. Some offered resources, others technology, and some even offered warriors to stand against the Void Swarm in future battles. A new alliance was forming, not of the oldest and most powerful, but of those willing to take risks to help others. When the fleet finally approached Earth, Captain Chen stood on the Defiance's observation deck with Valon Siri. The Pelleran leader was fully healed now, his crystal form once again whole and bright. Together they watched as the blue-green planet grew larger in the view screen. "It's beautiful," Siri said, "like our first world, before the swarm." Earth had prepared for the Pelleran's arrival. Large areas in less populated regions had been set, aside for the new settlers. Human scientists, engineers, and volunteers were ready to help the refugees build their new homes. As the fleet entered Earth orbit, something amazing happened. Billions of humans around the planet turned on their lights, in homes, buildings, streets, everywhere. From space, it looked like the whole planet was covered in tiny stars, a welcome beacon for the homeless travelers. We begged the galaxy for help, Siri said quietly. Only humanity answered. Chen smiled and shook her head. Not just humanity anymore. She gestured to the communication panel where messages continued to arrive from other species now offering assistance. You showed the galaxy that mathematics isn't destiny, that standing against impossible odds isn't foolish, it's the only choice worth making. As the first Pelleran shuttles prepared to descend to Earth's surface, humans around the world watched, with excitement and wonder. This was humanity's first major contact with another civilization, and it had come not through exploration, but through compassion. Among the crowds waiting at the landing sites were the human volunteers who had sacrificed their memories in the defense shield. They might not remember why they fought, but they knew what they had protected, the right of all living beings to help each other, regardless of differences. In the years that followed, the alliance grew stronger. The Pelorans settled on Earth, their crystal cities becoming places of beauty and learning. The human Pelleran scientific teams made breakthroughs in understanding both the Void Swarm and the Elder Race's technology. Many challenges lay ahead. The Elder Races had not forgotten what happened in the Ithaka system. The Void Swarm still moved through the galaxy, hungry and dangerous. But neither humans nor Pellerans would face these threats alone anymore. On the first anniversary of the Pellerans' arrival on Earth, a great meeting was held. Representatives from 17 different species gathered in a new building constructed especially for interstellar cooperation. Above the main entrance, carved in both human letters and the E symbols of all member species, was a simple phrase: "We stand together." Inside, Captain Chen watched as Valon Siri addressed the assembly. The Pelleran leader spoke of loss and hope, of ancient fears and new courage. He ended with words that would be remembered for generations. When we sent our cry for help into the darkness, we didn't know who might answer. The oldest and wisest races calculated the odds and turned away. But humanity, young, brave, and perhaps a little foolish, looked beyond the mathematics of survival to the heart of what makes life worth living, the choice to help others, even at great cost. That choice has changed the galaxy forever, and wherever in the universe such a cry is heard again, we all now know the right answer. Tighter